It's 10:42 a.m. on the 7th of October 2025. Over the South China Sea near the Spratly Islands, alarms erupt aboard USS Ronald Reagan. A fire control radar warning flashes red. Someone has painted the carrier. Sailors sprint to battle stations, boots pounding steel. USS Ralph Johnson slides forward to shield the flat top. On the horizon, a Chinese-type 54 amperes frigate glints. Antennas hot. Radio crackles. Unidentified vessel, you are entering Chinese waters. The reply stays calm. Negative. International waters. Dual tones overlap. Screens bloom with tracks. EA. 18G Growler spool for launch. The ship turns into the wind. Catapults hiss. No shots yet, but the fight has already begun. Phalanx crews stand by, safety's off, as the bridge watches bearing and range tick down. A calm voice reads rules of engagement, line by line. Another contact pops near Fiery Cross Reef. A cutter weaves across the bow. The carrier group holds course. Across the net, one message repeats. Stand down and clear the lane. The lock stays. The South China Sea isn't just a stretch of blue, it's the artery of global trade. 1/3 of the world's goods pass through these waters every year. Fuel, food, and microchips all ride this highway. If it closes, prices rise, factories slow, and nations stumble. That's why the USS Ronald Reagan sails here, not to provoke, but to keep that artery open. Across the waves, Beijing's Southern Fleet sees things differently. To them, every reef is territory, every patrol a test of will. Their message is clear. This is ours. For Washington, accepting that message means rewriting decades of international law without a single vote cast. From the carrier's bridge, the horizon looks endless, but the margin for error is razor thin. A wrong turn, a radar misread, and diplomacy burns before lunch. The captain knows this isn't a movie. Once missiles fly, no one controls how it ends. In the Combat Information Center, sailors track dozens of moving dots, cargo ships, patrol craft, shadows pretending to be fishing boats. Each blip could be harmless or bait. Over encrypted comms, voices from Manila, Tokyo check in. Allies are watching if the US backs down now. The signal is global. Outside, the growlers on deck are armed but silent. Non-kinetic warfare radar jamming, counterlocking by seconds, maybe peace. The ocean hums under tension, like breath held too long. No one speaks, but the question hangs in the air between two great powers. Who blinks first? If you were in command right now, would you hold your ground or pull back before the spark catches? Press 1 to stand firm, or 9 to ease the pressure and let the sea calm itself. 10:47 a.m., 5 minutes after the radar lock. The sea glitters calm, but the formation around the USS Ronald Reagan is already in motion. USS Ralph Johnson pushes forward. USS Dewey veers portside. USS Shiloh takes the outer flank. Aegis radar locked on target. The carrier steadies into the wind, deck buzzing with restrained energy. Inside the Combat Information Center, displays bloom with new returns, 2 small surface contacts closing fast. Their pattern is too clean for fishing boats. The Pate Ampere's Poseidon circling high confirms. Militia vessels, unarmed but coordinated. Someone's testing nerve, not weapons. Range 2,000 yards, the sensor officer reports. The radar tone sharpens another. Type 54. Ampere's frigate sliding in from the west. The captain's eyes narrow. Growlers, light 'em up. Defensive jamming only. On deck, 2 EA-18G Growlers scream into the sky, leaving trails of heat. Seconds later, invisible waves of electronic noise flood the air. On the Chinese frigate, radar screens flicker, false echoes scatter. The lock wavers but doesn't break. A silent duel, frequencies against frequencies, patience against pressure. Below decks, sailors brace as Ralph Johnson accelerates, cutting through the glare. The Mk-45 gun slews to starboard, not firing, just showing readiness. Do not cross our bow, the radio call repeats, clear and cold. Out ahead, the militia boats ignore it. One swerves sharply, crossing Ralph Johnson's path at full speed. Sirens blare. Spray lashes the deck. The destroyer holds course, slicing past within 200 yards, close enough for saltwater to hit the bridge windows. The crew doesn't flinch. For a few long seconds, both fleets hold still. No one fires. No one retreats. The air itself hums with tension. Then, on the scopes, the Chinese frigate's radar flickers again, a tighter beam, stronger signal. Their lock is back. A low buzz rolls through the carrier deck as flight ops reset. Shiloh reports clear firing lanes. Dewey tightens the defensive ring. Over Fiery Cross Reef, the Poseidon spots a cutter shadowing the formation, broadcasting coded bursts. Helm holds 20 knots. In CIC, someone starts a timer 5 minutes to see who blinks first. No one speaks. Every heartbeat feels like the edge of something irreversible. The next sound could be static or gunfire. 10:52 a.m. The standoff stretches past the 5-minute mark. The sun blazes high, glinting off gray hulls locked in place. The USS Ronald Reagan keeps steady, engines humming at low thrust, while the Chinese Type 54 Amperes holds her beam on a duel of nerves measured in degrees and seconds. In the Combat Information Center, the air feels heavy. Target reacquired, someone whispers. On the main display, the Chinese radar lock pulses stronger than before. Tighter beam, faster sweep. They've shifted to active tracking. The captain leans forward, voice calm but clipped. Electronic countermeasures. Pattern Delta. Let's blind them again. The EA-18G Growlers sweep back over the horizon. Their pods hum, sending torrents of noise into the ether. On the enemy scopes, phantom ships multiply a digital fog, swallowing truth and distance. But the other side adapts fast. A second radar source lights up from Mischief Reef, extending range. It's not just one frigate anymore. The net is closing. USS Shiloh angles outward, positioning for missile defense. Ralph Johnson maintains point, her crew already sweating under fire. Retardant suits. Stay locked, stay disciplined, the XO reminds. Every maneuver now could be seen as aggression or weakness. The Poseidon above relays fresh data. A Haijing 5402 cutter is moving in parallel, trying to wedge between the destroyers. The bridge calculates distances, updates risk zones, and adjusts course by half a degree, just enough to deny the cut. Outside, the sea churns with prop wash and tension. The phalanx CIWS rotates to ready angle, safety's off but fingers steady. This isn't combat, not yet. It's chess with radar beams instead of bullets. Every move says, I see you, I'm ready if you move. Through the comnet, both languages echo, layered and sharp. The Chinese captain repeats his warning. The American skipper answers once, evenly. Freedom of navigation, continuing transit. The words hang like steel in salt air. Somewhere between static and silence, a truth settles and neither side can back down without losing more than pride. It's strategy, politics, and ego colliding on open water. If you were in that command seat, watching the lock tighten and the horizon shrink, what would you do? Press 1 to hold the line and stare them down, or 9 to pull away before words turn into war. 11:03 a.m. Just when the standoff seems to settle, something new cuts through the static. On radar, faint blips appear, small, fast, skimming low across the waves. Not ships, not planes. Drones, launched from near Mischief Reef. The Paint Ampere's Poseidon confirms 6 unknown contacts, each no larger than a jet ski, closing fast. Low altitude, low radar signature built to confuse. The captain exhales. They're testing us again or worse. Below decks, tension tightens. CIWS tracking active. A tech calls out. Ralph Johnson adjusts course, guns following the nearest target. The drones split formation, weaving through clutter like sparks across water, deliberate, provocative. Permission to engage? The XO asks. The captain shakes his head. Not yet. They haven't fired. The hardest order to wait, when your screen looks like a storm about to break. On USS Shiloh, sailors watch as one drone rises, leveling toward the bow. The phalanx rotates, sensors chirping, tracking. The system holds steady, waiting for proof of intent the rules demand. Growlers, shift frequency, the captain orders. The jets arc wide, flooding the band with static. For a heartbeat, the tracks vanish, then reappear, closer, smarter. The drones hop signals, shifting from radio to optical. It's not a test anymore, the captain mutters. They're learning. He traces a finger on the chart Titan spacing, deny them angles. In the CIC, the hum builds fans, scopes, breath. A petty officer reads ranges, another calls bearings. Everyone feels the line between caution and conflict thinning fast. One bad read, one nervous squeeze, and the South China Sea burns. 11:06 a.m. No one blinks. Spray ghosts off the bow, sunlight flares on steel, and the next 3 minutes will decide who holds the air and who writes what comes next. 11:08 a.m. alarms erupt across the USS Ralph Johnson. The incoming drones break formation, diving low between the destroyers. Sunlight glints off their carbon shells as they skim through spray. Multiple inbound bearings, 085, the radar tech shouts. Track visually, the captain commands. The phalanx CIWS spins up, barrels glowing, its metallic hum cutting through the chaos. The first drone vanishes from radar at 900 yards, then bursts from the haze too close. The gun fires, a torrent of light and metal. Water erupts, and the drone disappears in flame. Splash one, the gunnery chief calls. A short cheer dies as another target appears. Faster, lower. Sizz cooling, someone yells. USS Dewey launches chaff and flares that scatter across the waves like falling sparks. Sensors flicker, half blind. Above, EA-18G growlers roar through the formation, flooding the air with static. On the Chinese scopes, the US fleet dissolves into false echoes, but another radar beam pierces through a hard lock from the type 54 amperes. They've reacquired the Reagan. Intercept immediately, the captain orders. Ralph Johnson pivots hard, carving white arcs through the sea. Her Mach 45 gun fires 3 bursts. The second drone detonates mid-air, fragments raining down like molten rain. For a moment, silence. Then one last blip appears larger, slower, hovering near the edge of range. Possible control node, the XO reports. The captain hesitates. Hold fire! A breath later, the signal fades. Whoever launched them just stepped back. On deck, sailors lower weapons, sweat cutting lines through soot. The Reagan steadies course. Allied channels confirm Chinese ships turning south, leaving the area. Relief ripples through the fleet, but no one cheers. This was a battle won without a war. A message written in noise and restraint. The sea is calm again, but tension hums beneath the silence. The captain stares east, light burning off the horizon. That's it? A sailor asks. For now, he replies. If you were standing on that bridge, would you have fired or held steady and trusted control? Press 1 to strike first, or 9 to stay the course and keep the peace. 11:40 a.m. The battle is over, but the adrenaline refuses to fade. The sea lies flat again, a mirror hiding the chaos beneath. Smoke drifts off the carrier's deck as crewmen hose down metal still hot from tension. Radios click with clipped reports. All contacts clear, area secure. Across the formation, sailors lean against bulkheads, their hands trembling just slightly. No casualties, no hits, but everyone knows how close it was. A few more seconds of misread intent, and the South China Sea could have turned red. From above, satellite feeds confirm it. The Chinese flotilla retreating south, their radars cold. Within hours, Washington will call it a victory for freedom of navigation. Beijing will call it an exercise in restraint. Both will claim control of the story, but only those on deck know how thin the truth really felt. The USS Ronald Reagan continues north, engines steady, decks scattered with shell casings and silence. The EA-18G growlers land one by one, their wings folding like tired birds. Every return is a reminder victory isn't always loud. Sometimes it sounds like static fading to quiet. In the Combat Information Center, the captain signs the final report. He pauses at the last line. Engagement ended without fire exchange beyond drones. His pen hovers. Then he adds one more note. No shots. Message delivered. Far away, news headlines already spin the event. Analysts talk of deterrence, of resolve, of a turning tide in the Pacific. But none of them mention the faces in that control room, the calm voices holding the line against fear. Outside, the ocean glows gold under the noon sunday. It looks peaceful, but everyone aboard knows it's only sleeping. Somewhere beyond the horizon, new orders will come, and the cycle will begin again. If you were watching from that deck, would you call it victory or just survival? Press 1 if you believe the US held the line with strength, or 9 if you think both sides only delayed the inevitable. It's 1930 on the 23rd of September 2025. In the South China Sea, the ocean suddenly breaks. The massive USS Ohio, a U.S. nuclear-powered submarine loaded with up to 154 Tomahawk missiles, rises to the surface without warning. Its appearance shocks the quiet waters near Subic Bay, just miles from vital shipping lanes. On the horizon, radar picks up movement. Chinese carrier CNS Fujian and her escorts are already maneuvering to respond. Alarms echo through the steel corridors. Sailors sprint to stations, securing hatches and powering defense systems. Above, a US-paid Ampere's patrol plane circles, feeding targeting data down in real time. The tension is electric. Radios crackle with urgent orders as destroyers nearby shift formation. Every crew member knows, this is not a drill. The world's two most powerful navies are staring each other down, weapons primed, one wrong signal away from unleashing fire across the South China Sea. The South China Sea is more than water. Every day, tankers and cargo ships cut through these lanes, carrying fuel, electronics, and food that keep daily life running in Asia and across the Pacific. Tonight, they pass near Subic Bay, a critical port in the Philippines where U.S. forces rotate. The USS Ohio surfaces here not by accident, but as a message: America is present, armed, and ready. Across the horizon, the CNS Fujian, China's newest aircraft carrier with advanced catapult launch systems, answers that message with her own show of force. Her deck crews rush to prep fighters, while escorts tighten the screen around her. Beijing sees this ocean as its backyard. Washington insists it remains open water. Every maneuver, every radar ping, every engine rumble becomes part of a silent argument that could turn violent in seconds. For the sailors on both sides, the stakes are simple: deterrence or disaster. A wrong calculation here does not just endanger one submarine or one carrier, it threatens trade, credibility, and the fragile balance of power. If this line fails, shipping slows, insurance skyrockets, and allies start to doubt America's word. And if shots are fired, the fallout won't stop at sea. It will ripple into boardrooms, markets, and homes. That is why tonight's confrontation matters. Two flags, two doctrines, two futures colliding in contested waters. One side believes strength secures peace. The other believes presence is provocation. And the crew of the USS Ohio sits right on that fault line. Engines humming, missile hatches sealed but ready. So here's the question. In this standoff, whose move do you think holds the upper hand? If you believe America's show of force sends the stronger signal, press 1 inch the comments. If you think China's carrier presence pushes back harder, press 9. 1945, the 23rd of September 2025. The standoff tilts from theater to test. Far off the bow, the Pate Amperes reports hot launches from CNS Fujian fighters clawing into the night, exhaust plumes streaking orange across black water. On the surface, USS Ohio remains exposed, a steel giant that is built to hide. Two U.S. destroyers slide wider, bows cutting a silver V as they form a moving shield. Contacts inbound, bearing 210. The order snaps out. A destroyer fires standard missiles, first clean arcs rising, seekers hunting hot metal. It is a measured punch, meant to push the line back and buy space, not to start a war. Seconds later, chaff and flares burst from launchers, drifting clouds that scramble returns. Overhead, the patrol plane feeds a torrent of tracks into the network. Philippine coastal radar joins, filling seams the ships can't see. The picture sharpens. Altitude, speed, vector. The Chinese fighters probe the edge of the bubble, noses dipping, radars blinking on and off. The rules of engagement ride every headset. No first strike, no hard lock unless threatened. New signatures skim in drones from Chinese escorts, running a meter above the waves. Small, fast, unstable on radar. They fan out to split attention. The nearer destroyer answers with naval gunbursts. Red tracers raking the dark, water leaps in white pillars where rounds hit. 2 drones cartwheel, burning. 3 more slip through the spray. On USS Ohio, sailors brace on the wind-swept deck. Below, the boat floods 2 tubes for readiness, then stops at green. Hatches stay shut. The captain wants options, not escalation. He calls for a turn 5 degrees to port to narrow angles and thin the ship's profile to sea-skimming threats. Tiny moves matter. Geometry can save lives. Electronic war thickens. Decoys toss false echoes. Drones spit spoofers, and the horizon crawls with phantom pips. Far west, storm cells stack like walls. Lightning forks bend ranges and mask blips. The battle space becomes a maze where seconds rule and nerves decide. No decisive shot yet. But the opening blows are landed. Missiles spent. Guns hot. Drones falling. Tempers held. This is more than a show of flags now. It's a live-fire balance on a wet knife edge, and the first mistakes are already etching themselves into the night. 25. The 23rd of September 2025. Pressure climbs fast. Several Chinese drones slip past the outer screen and buzz dangerously close to U.S. hulls. Alarms hammer across destroyers as crews recalibrate fire control. Flares smear the sky. Hard turns churn the sea. The clash is no longer distant, it presses in, shaking steel and nerves. One drone dives, rips the wake beside a U.S. bow, and detonates. The blast throws spray high. The ship shudders but holds. Damage teams race, dog hatches, kill sparks. On the bridge, the commander stays level. Hold the line, shift to intercept. Close seams, move guns. One misread bearing, and the next splash hits steel. USS Ohio swings 5 degrees to port, slimming its silhouette to sea skimmers. For a submarine on the surface, every second is exposure. Below, watchstanders flood 2 tubes for readiness. Then hold. Hatches stay shut. Sonar hunts for low rumbles, any hint of a shadowed trail. None yet, but each minute invites risk. Overhead, Chinese fighters wheel and drop decoys that fog the picture. U.S. radars sweep, lose tracks, reacquire. One destroyer surges forward, gun stitching patterns. The second layers missiles behind it, forming a shield for the submarine. Philippine sensors add tracks, filling blind spots. Then another rush, a fresh wave of drones, smaller and faster, darting in swarms. The destroyers answer with gunbursts and airbursts. Orange flares ignite. Some drones tumble burning, others keep charging. Each near miss hammers the deck. Salt spray lashes watchstanders. Helmets thud as the ship slams through its own wake. Every sailor knows the stakes. If the shield cracks, USS Ohio faces direct strike consequences far beyond this sea. For Beijing, forcing the boat to withdraw would be a headline win. For Washington, holding proves presence still deters. 2 doctrines collide in black water. Inches short of open war, the confrontation hardens. Smoke in the air, static on nets, choices piling up. Radar screens flicker, headsets hiss. Nerves stay taut. Who blinks first, the U.S. point, guarding its exposed giant, or China pressing the attack? If you think America holds the line, press 1. If you think China has momentum, press 9 and subscribe for the next escalation. 2025, the 23rd of September 2025. Just as the U.S. fleet steadies its defense, new alarms cut through the night. Not aircraft, not drones. The radar picture shifts to something sharper, faster. Hugging the waves, sea-skimming missiles launched from a hidden Chinese frigate. The fight has escalated. Radars lock on the low streaks. The commander reacts instantly. Engage! Engage! Launch cells bang open. ESSM interceptors roar skyward, twisting toward the threat. White arcs cross the dark. Explosions flare over the sea. One target shatters, another slips past. Seconds stretch like hours as crews brace for impact. The USS Ohio, exposed on the surface, now sits at the center of danger. For a submarine designed to vanish, It is the worst place imaginable. The captain orders sharp turns, flanking with destroyers to force tighter angles. Engines strain, water shears off the bow. Sailors grip rails as spray smashes the deck. Above, U.S. fighters streak across the sky, tangling with Chinese aircraft, but every eye turns back to the horizon. The sea skimmers are priority. Guns elevate, barrels glowing as they hammer bursts. CIWS turrets spin, spitting rivers of tracers. Sparks meet streaks. Shockwaves roll across the sea as warheads detonate short. Yet more missiles rush in, smaller, faster, harder to track. The defenders strain under pressure, every system firing, every sailor locked on task. The line is holding, but only just. A single miss could cripple the submarine and silence its arsenal beneath the waves. This is the twist. The battle has shifted from signaling to survival. Every second carries the weight of consequence. The ocean burns with fire, and the outcome hangs by a thread of steel and nerve. 2040, the 23rd of September 2025, the final wave closes in. Chinese sea-skimming missiles streak low over the waves, fast and deadly. Every radar screen glows red. Every alarm screams. The U.S. crews know this is the moment. Hold the shield or break under the storm. A destroyer launches another salvo of ESSM, arcs of fire tearing upward. Several intercepts connect, bright flashes ripple across the horizon, but two missiles break through. Too close, too fast. The guns elevate, barrels glowing white-hot, hurling steel into the night. The USS Ohio heaves in the dark sea, riding heavy swells. On her deck, sailors crouch low as the CIWS spins alive, spitting thousands of rounds per minute. Tracer streams carve glowing lines, cutting the sky into fragments. One missile erupts in midair, the explosion showering the waterline with sparks. Another keeps coming, seconds stretch thin. The incoming warhead is only miles out. The destroyer to port shifts course hard, exposing its side to bring another CIWS battery to bear. The gun thunders, tracers stitching the night. A final burst connects. Fireball. Debris splashes into the sea, waves surging over the bow. The threat is gone, but the fight is not silent. Overhead, U.S. and Chinese fighters claw at each other in tight spirals, afterburners cutting neon scars across the clouds. Below, both fleets maneuver violently, commanders testing nerve and steel. The air tastes of salt, smoke, and cordite. Every sailor knows they just survived a knife-edge gamble. On the Ohio, the captain steadies his crew. We hold, we endure. The submarine, though scarred by spray and stress, remains intact. Her 154 missiles still sealed within. The Chinese fleet holds back, its message sent, but the U.S. response louder. We will not yield. The horizon clears slowly, lit by the last fading embers. Both sides now pause, watching, calculating what comes next. The sea is quiet again, but the silence feels sharper than the noise. So here's the moment for you. Did the U.S. show unstoppable resolve, or did China prove it can push America to the edge? Comment 1 if you think Washington held firm, or 9 if Beijing forced the harder blow, and subscribe so you don't miss the next escalation. 2110, the 23rd of September 2025. The horizon is quiet now, the echoes of battle fading into heavy seas. Both fleets hold their positions, lights dimmed, radars sweeping in silence. The USS Ohio still floats, battered by spray but undamaged, its missile tubes unopened. The message is clear. America surfaced its most dangerous submarine in contested waters and survived the gauntlet. For the U.S., this night is a statement. Defensive systems worked, discipline held, and the world saw a show of resolve. But the cost is visible, too expensive. Interceptors spent against cheap drones, crews stretched to exhaustion, tension ratcheted higher. Each exchange proves the enemy adapts, using swarms and decoys to force costly responses. For China, the confrontation is also a message. The CNS Fujian launched waves of aircraft, drones, and missiles, pressing close enough to force the U.S. into a full defensive sprint. Even without sinking a ship, Beijing demonstrated reach, coordination, and the ability to push America's strongest assets into the open. That image will be broadcast, replayed, and studied across the Pacific. Allies watch carefully. In Manila, Tokyo, and Canberra, leaders note that the US stood firm, but also that the margin was thin. Insurance rates will rise, shipping will divert, and questions will echo in boardrooms and parliaments. How long can deterrence hold before deterrence fails? Tonight, the sea remains open, but the balance feels shakier than ever. Both sides walk away claiming success, yet neither can afford the losses that would come with the next step. The silence on the horizon is temporary. The next confrontation could bring more waves, more missiles, and fewer limits. So tell us what you think. Was tonight proof that America still holds the line, or proof that China can force even the strongest fleet onto defense? Comment 1 if you believe Washington showed dominance, or 9 if you think Beijing's pressure reshaped the fight, and subscribe to follow what happens when the next strike comes harder and faster.